Alright guys, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to show you guys how to properly lube and keep an AR15 functioning and running. I've been asked 3 times this week, and I actually see a lot of guys, and I get asked this a lot, how to properly lube, or I see a lot of guys over lubing their AR15s or lubing the wrong parts. Again, it's just going to be a basic lubing video. It's not going to be a cleaning video. I'm just going to show you guys what parts and how to properly lube an AR15. And yeah, just kind of give you guys that, because again, I see a lot of people doing it improperly. A lot of guys make videos like this and they say there's no one way or there's no proper way to lube an AR15. It's the way that I do it. That is actually incorrect. There is a proper way to lube an AR15, and there's a proper way to lube any machine and any gun out there. So to get started, what we're going to do first, we're going to drop the mag, bring the bolt back, visually inspect. Make sure that there's no ammo in the gun. There's no reason to have live ammo in the room. Just try and keep live ammo away. As long as you're not using the gun, there's no reason to have it around, just asking for an accident. What I'm going to be using is ram oil. There's no one oil that you really need to use. I know a lot of guys use frog lube, even though that's not one of my favorites. It actually gums up a lot. A lot of guys use Ballistol, Slip 2000. Whatever's your choice, that's your choice, so go ahead and do it. I'm sure they all work. Just pick a name brand and something that's trusted. So what we're going to do first is pop the rear takedown pin and pull the charging handle and the bolt out. I like to pull both of them out. As for the lower, there's not really, I see a lot of guys doing this. They put a ton of lube on the inside of your lower. There's actually no real reason to do that. I like ram oil, the spray, because what you can do for storage, you just kind of give it a quick little spritz in there. I try and keep it off of the hammer. But again, I just like to, when I'm storing it, just put like a little squirt on the inside of the lower. That's pretty much all you really need. Other than that, there shouldn't be much lube for the lower. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. The AR15, I see a lot of guys focusing on the forward assist gills and on the bolt carrier group itself. That's actually not what you need to lube. You're going to have 4 rails, which are going to be on the bolt, which is what you have to focus on. Again, the main point for lube and oils pretty much is to cut down the friction and the wear on metal parts, or just parts in general, rubbing against each other. So this right here isn't rubbing against anything. You don't really need to lube that. What you really need to lube, again, is the rails. There's going to be one here, one right there, one here, and then one down here. You want to keep that lubed. You also want to lube the bolt itself. This is the bolt carrier group. This is the bolt. I don't fully disassemble it to lube it. What else do you need? And then there's also rails, which these rails ride along in the upper. That's the only thing you really need to lube. This gun's dirty, as you can tell from my hands. I went shooting last week. I still need to clean it, so I'm not going to lube it, but I'm going to show you guys how I lube. I'm going to put the straw in. Again, I use rim oil. The reason why I prefer rim oil is because it's a nice little liquid, and I've noticed through all my guns it holds on very well, and even after a full shoot, you guys can't see it, but there's still lube on there. Even though I shot probably about 200 to 300 rounds through this on my last trip, there's still lube on there. My parts, I noticed, don't wear that much when I lube them with rim oil, but again, it's just personal preference. Whatever you use is fine. But what I like to do is I like to just squirt. You don't have to go crazy, just a little spritz, and then what I like to do is rub it along the rail. That's all you need to do. And then again, for the rails, alright, we'll straw fell out. Pretty much what I like to do is I like to get one little spritz on each of the rails and rub it with my finger. Again, you don't need too much. You don't need to over lube it, but just a little bit will go a long way. But you also don't want to under lube it and kind of not lube it at all. So pretty much the 4 rails right there is all I did. And then what I like to do is pull the bolt, the actual bolt itself, back. I like to spray one in there, pull it forward, spray one in there, and then I like to work it back and forth. And then you'll see a pin right here is the takedown pin. I like to do a nice little decent spray. This one's where you want to do kind of a little bit of a good spray. Again, nothing too much, just a 1, 2. Let it kind of go in there. And then you have 2 holes, that's where the straw comes in. You want to do 1 and 2 in those holes. And then work the bolt back and get it in there. You don't need to get any on the bolt face. What you need to do is get it on the lugs. The lugs actually make contact. So you want to, pretty much what I like to do, again, I just like to do a quick spritz and then rub it with my fingers. Try and keep it off of the bolt face. That's just going to collect debris. You can spray a little bit back there for the firing pin. I personally don't do that. It's kind of personal preference. You don't have to do it, but this is where all the moving parts are inside this, so that's kind of where you want to focus. I see a lot of guys focusing back here. There's no real reason to have a lot of lube on here. You can lube it a little bit if you need to, but that's not one of the major frictioning parts. So the bolt after that is pretty much lubed properly. What I like to do next, again, this is where the straw comes in handy. Where the bolt actually rides, I like to spray a little bit of lube with the straw and get it on those rails where these make contact. And then after that, that's pretty much done for the rifle. I'll go ahead and throw this back in. Give me a sec. The other thing that I do like to lube, again, you don't want to do too much, but just give it a shake, spray it a little bit, and then rub it around all on the charging handle. You can tell the friction points after a while. Once you start wearing or using it, it's going to start wearing, and that's where you can kind of tell what are the friction parts, I guess, and what's actually moving and what's actually contacting. Again, the more wear you get, that's obviously where they're connecting and you want to put the lube. So I like to put a little coat of lube on here, rub it around, and then all you do is just throw the charging handle back in. Make sure the bolt's forward when you install it. Throw them in together, lock it through. Go ahead and close your receiver. Pull it back. You don't have to put the magazine in. Again, make sure it's unloaded and empty. And that's how you properly lube and keep AR-15 running.